I know what you're thinking. Phil, what are you doing? You're taking this way too far. A vlog on how many judges may be domestic abusers or child abusers? How do you have the kahunas to even stray down that road? Well, to be honest, I'm going there because I can. I have previously put my life on the line to protect the freedoms of free speech and expression. So it's about time that I use those hard-fought freedoms myself to challenge the inept, incompetent and totally incomprehensible family court system to its very core. And one way of doing that is to challenge those who sit in judgment of others, the judges themselves. But before I speak my mind and provide a voice to the tens of thousands of disempowered people going through the broken family court system, which claims, in its delusional alternative state of reality, to place the welfare of children first as its paramount consideration, let me run my excellent introduction. For those who have not met me before, I am Philip Kedge, a retired police chief inspector and director of the Mckenzie Friend UK network. I have been a Mckenzie Friend for over a decade, supporting litigants in person through the family courts. In all my vlogs, my views and opinions are entirely my own. Please help me reach out to as many people as possible going through the family court by liking, sharing, subscribing and hitting that notification bell. In this vlog, I am going to turn the family court system on its head. But in order to understand the context, we need to take a trip back down the rabbit hole and to return to the Mad Hatter's Tea Party with the published judgment of His Honour Judge Ahmed in the case of A. If you have not seen the first vlog in relation to this judgment, then pause this right now and please watch it. It's called Son Farts on Father Judgment and Common Sense Exits the Family Court. After you have seen it, pick your jaw up off the floor and get a stiff drink to hand and return here to continue watching. Oh, when I say get a stiff drink to hand, unless of course you are in the process of getting a hair strand test because your ex is making spurious and vindictive claims about your alcohol consumption, whilst restricting, minimising or denying contact with your children. Okay, let's continue if you're ready to do so. In the original hearing, the fine and indeed in my mind honourable Deputy District Judge Watson, a people's judge who applied common sense, humanity, understanding and has his feet planted firmly on planet Earth, stated in the original fact-finding hearing that the court was not looking for perfect parenting standards. This was over some very minor family issues. He referred to some inappropriate parenting as being perhaps understandable. What a brilliant judge who provides confidence and balance to service users going through the family court process. Because most of us will admit that we are not perfect parents or perfect partners. Is there any such thing as a perfect parent or partner? God help us all if the court applied or expected non-resident parents who are simply desperate to see their children again after a relationship turns sour to be perfect in all their behaviours. All well and good, a family court system applying common sense through a real-world lens that works. But apparently not. In an appeal hearing, His Honour Judge Ahmed concluded that such statements by Judge Watson were wholly inappropriate and not what one may expect of a judge in a family court to condone. Apparently, Deputy District Judge Watson should have applied the principles and definition of the Domestic Abuse Act of 2021 and Practice Directions 12J. So, it appears that less than perfect parenting and inappropriate behaviour, however seemingly trivial, has to be considered under the lens of abuse and child abuse, potentially leading to fact findings where common sense evaporates and a person is labelled forever as a domestic abuser or child abuser for displaying what may be considered as less than perfect behaviours that I guess we are all susceptible to and guilty of. Living under the difficult challenges, pressures and considerable imperfections of the real world. So let's now turn all this on its head. How many judges who sit in judgment of us, the service users, are applying laws and principles without any common sense, which bear absolutely no resemblance or understanding of the realities, pressures and hardships of everyday life, are themselves domestic abusers and child abusers? How many judges, if the lens of perfect parenting and behaviours is turned on their lives behind their closed doors, would fall short if their behaviours were to be scrutinised under the Domestic Abuse Act of 2021 and Practice Directions 12J? Let's simply wonder about this for a moment. Have those who sit in judgment of us ever slammed a door in anger, ever sworn in front of their children, ever called their partner a disparaging name in a moment of anger or frustration? Have they ever manhandled a child off the floor who was being naughty and disruptive? Have they ever smacked their children? Have they ever used an expletive towards their teenage child? Have they ever had one too many sherries and said things that they regret the next morning? Have they ever had to apologise to their partners or spouses for their behaviour? Have they ever done anything that may fall below the standards that they are judging us and holding us to account to? If they have, how dare they sit in judgment of others? The hypocrisy of that is unthinkable. If these judges are going to apply laws and procedures without any rational common sense and deny or restrict contact between children and their loving parents based on impossible standards for any normal human being to reach, they had better be perfect human beings with perfect lives in perfect relationships and perfect parents. Otherwise, they surely need to stand down. How would you feel if your judge confines you to months of humiliating contact in a contact centre because your spiteful and vindictive ex makes allegations that you raised your voice in anger, causing the children distress and anxiety, and that they all had to tread on eggshells, when the judge has done exactly the same thing to their children, but oh, no one's taking their children away from them? So how we finally reach that point where the entire family court system, with the application of Practice Directions 12J, is now in reality founded on total hypocrisy and double standards? Very possibly. And the madness continues beyond even this. If judges continue to fail to apply any common sense and continue to impose draconian measures in relation to contact over absolutely ridiculous issues, then there is never going to be any honesty. Can you imagine the telephone call with Cafcass. Let's bring in my fictional training character, Mr. Groves, who you should all be familiar with by now. He has separated from his wife Abigail and has not seen his children for 3 months. Daniel aged 12 and Sandy aged 4. Well, Mr. Groves, have you ever raised your voice, shouted or become angry? Yes, of course I have. We all do. I've shouted at the kids. I once had to drag Daniel up to his bedroom when he was around 5 years of age because he was behaving so badly. Well, Mr. Groves, your wife Abigail says that you have sworn at her. Well, yes, we were together for 14 years. I have called her names and she has called me names. Not very nice, I know, but that's marriage. We always used to kiss and make up until now, that is, obviously, we've separated. Mr. Groves, Abigail says that you get angry and that causes the children and her to suffer from extreme anxieties, and that she has had to tread on eggshells. Well, over the past 14 years, I may have got angry a handful of times, but show me a relationship where that doesn't happen. When Abigail is in a strop, she really goes off on one, believe me. Mr. Groves, do you recognise that your behaviour may be abusive? Don't be daft, it's life. Mr. Groves is then sentenced to a contact centre for 6 months, whilst the court progresses a fact-finding for domestic abuse and child abuse. Let's try it again. Mr. Groves, have you ever done anything in your 14 years of marriage that may be considered inappropriate? Of course not. I have never even raised my voice ever. Our marriage was perfect. I don't get angry. It's not in my nature. Even when we've had rows, it was all very civilised. Can I see my children now, please? I mean, honestly, calling the family court a madhouse is quite frankly being disingenuous to actual madhouses. It's beyond insanity. So what can we do? Is it time as service users to hold what I see as the inept and destructive family court service that is imposed on us to account? Imagine this. What would happen if before any fact-finding hearing, service users submitted a C2 form seeking directions that the judge, before commencing the actual hearing, must swear an oath or affirmation that they have never themselves engaged in any behaviour towards their children or partners that could be considered as abuse under the Domestic Abuse Act of 2021, or what could be considered under Practice Directions 12J as a risk of harm. If they don't, won't or can't, then shouldn't they recuse themselves from the case? Surely it is entirely reasonable for any service user to expect that a judge who sits in judgment of them has not themselves engaged in any similar behaviour to what they are making their judgments on when it comes to child contact arrangements. However, the problem with this, of course, is that I don't think that there would be many judges left. But why not still ask the question? We are the service users. We, in my mind, are entitled to understand who is judging us as part of that service. What more can I say? As litigants in person, and we have to keep reminding ourselves that we are private service users, being forced to go through a broken family court system. So I now raise the serious question, is it time to unite and take a stand? The family court needs to be challenged, not by hanging off Big Ben in Batman outfits shouting parental alienation. That is never ever going to work, but instead to challenge it from the inside. Let me explain. 50% of family court service users are now litigants in person. That is an army of people. A united army with its own voice, not silenced and disempowered by sick family lawyers. An army of litigants in person under the banner of light, not hate, who can metaphorically walk straight through the front doors of the family court and hold it to account by challenging every aspect of the broken, inept and incompetent system from the inside. That has never been done before, but it is perhaps the only way to now bring about and force changes, to demand that the private proceedings in the family court that we the public rely on is fit for purpose. And I suggest that the starting point is the application of a very simple concept that judges appear to have completely lost sight of: common sense. And secondly, to remove those sick family lawyers. How do we do that? It's easy. Stop hiring them. Spread the message of light, not hate. They are not needed. They cause and promote conflict. They have no duty of care to any child. They leave people in crippling lifelong debt. 50% of family court service users are litigants in person who have got that message. Let's increase that number to 60%, 70, 80, and finally 100% of empowered litigants in person, changing the family court forever. I'll leave you with that thought. Thanks for watching. Perhaps I could take up 30 seconds more of your generous time. Very soon I will be launching my campaign of #LightNotHate to challenge the family court from the inside and to remove destructive lawyers who have no duty of care to any children from ever taking part in family proceedings. How do we achieve this? It's actually very simple, but has never been done before. We would empower litigants in person to appropriately use their voices within the family court to hold the broken and inept system to account and to demand changes from the inside. As service users, we demand that it is fit for purpose if it is going to make such critical judgments over our lives. Secondly, as far as the sick family lawyers are concerned, 50% of those who go through the family courts are litigants in person. My aim is to increase that within 3 years to 80% and then potentially to 100%. I believe that the 3-year target is achievable. Through information, education and technology, we can reach out to every family court service user and convince them that they don't need to hire family lawyers. The one single thing within the entire family court system that we as service users have absolute control over is that we can stop hiring totally unnecessary and all too often destructive family solicitors and barristers and put them out of business. That gift is in our grasp. If we remove the family lawyers who keep us disempowered and, from what I observe, stir the pot of acrimony and hate for financial gain and leave people in crippling financial debt with no duty of care to any children, then we the people, the private service users, can change the family court forever. So this is my call to arms. If you are interested in signing up to the campaign, please go to www.likenothate.co.uk and simply fill in your details, and I will personally send you more information. I want to unite an army of litigants in person and to empower ourselves with a voice and clear, simple messages to challenge and change the family court from the inside. To remove all the family court lawyers by simply educating people not to hire them. You can start helping me right now, right this second, by liking and then sharing this vlog in just one or all of your family court social groups that you are in. Thank you again for your time.